our understanding of migraine disease has changed. While there is much yet to learn, let us review some of the most important principles about this medical condition. Migraine is a disease of the nervous system. In the past, we believed that migraine headaches were caused by changes in blood vessels in the brain. Now, it is clear that what happens in the brain is much more complicated. The underlying problem with migraine sufferers is that their nervous system is too sensitive. Those triggers may be the result of something we consumed, excess stress, a lack of sleep, or a change in the weather. And how hypersensitive the nervous system is and what triggers the nervous system varies between people. In other words, migraine disease is not a single disease, but a spectrum with symptoms ranging from mild and occasional to debilitating and daily. Why is this? Genetics play a part in migraine disease. Let's remind ourselves about how the nervous system works. If we look at what we think of as a nerve, we see how it is made up of a bundle of similar neurons. Each individual neuron has a cell body with long extensions. When specialized sensors are stimulated, an electrical message starts on its way to the brain. But it is actually the flow of the charged sodium ions into the cell through ion channels, followed by the passing of potassium through separate ion channels out of the cell, that generates the electrical signal. An electrical wave then moves rapidly towards the brain. At some point, each neuron reaches its limit, and the signal must be transferred to the next set of neurons. Here, calcium channels open and secondarily cause the release of chemicals called neurotransmitters into the synapses, where receptors on the adjacent neurons must detect the neurotransmitters and regenerate the electrical signal. It is during this complex process that mistakes can be made. For example, one of the known genetic defects of migraine is one where the cell is instructed to produce a protein that cannot fold into its normal three-dimensional shape. When positioned in the cell membrane and an electric signal comes along, the defective protein may open up and let calcium ions into the cell, but it might not be able to snap back into a fully closed position, allowing too much of the electrically charged calcium into the neuron. In this case, the neuron would keep releasing neurotransmitters, and the next cell would generate an exaggerated response. The consequence is that the neuron has overreacted to a stimulus. Cortical spreading depression. So what causes the intense headache of migraine? The current theory is that a trigger, either in the brainstem or in periphery, sets off an abnormal electrical event called a cortical spreading depression. This is a wave of electrical activity that sweeps slowly across the surface of the cortex. A cortical spreading depression first initiates flashing lights or abnormal smells, followed by an intense headache. The electrical depolarization results in a release of neurotransmitters and other molecules that cause secondary inflammation. A person then experiences light sensitivity, nausea, foggy thinking, and fatigue for hours. By mechanisms that are still to be defined, the chemical reactions of a cortical spreading depression appear to affect the dura, where blood vessels dilate and contract. Mast cells release their potent inflammatory chemicals, and trigeminal nerve fibers send signals back to the brainstem. While cortical spreading depressions cannot explain many of the symptoms of migraine disease, it is likely an important event in generating the most familiar, brief, intense experiences of migraine sufferers.
If you're a human being living on planet Earth, chances are you've probably experienced a headache at some point in your life. But have you ever experienced a migraine? Important to understand that a migraine is not just a regular headache. Tension headaches are the most common, making up about 90% of the headaches that people experience, and they're usually described as causing mild to moderate pain. Migraines, while less common, are much more intense. Migraines are typically divided into two main categories, those with auras and those without. Aura can actually cause people to have difficulty speaking, hear sounds or music, shake uncontrollably, experience visual disturbances like bright spots, zigzag vision, light flashes, or even vision loss, and can even cause people to go numb in the face and body. And while the statistics vary, it's estimated that 15% of the US population deals with migraines. They can cause a pulsing, throbbing pain that ranges from moderate to severe. Think of it this way. People can usually function through a headache, but a migraine can make daily life incredibly difficult or even impossible. The pain is usually centered on one side of the head and can be coupled with pain in the temples, eye area, and back of the head. Migraines can also cause nausea, lightheadedness, sensitivity to light, sound, smell, and touch. They can make it difficult to move or even speak. Migraines may even take you out of commission entirely and can last anywhere from 4 hours to 3 days. And even after it's over, a migraine can leave you feeling dizzy, confused, weak, and moody. Unfortunately, right now, the cause of migraines is still not fully understood, but we do know some things that can be triggers. Foods like aged cheeses and other dairy, meats with nitrates like cured salami, nuts and seeds, and even chocolate. And don't forget the salty processed foods, onions, pickled or fermented foods, even foods containing gluten, and foods containing tyramine like smoked fish, and even red wine. Migraines can also be triggered by changes in your diet, like skipping a meal, and things like aspartame or artificial sweetener, MSG, caffeine, sensory stimulants like strong scents, bright lights, loud noises, certain medications, and even hormone fluctuations, making women 3 times more likely to have migraines than men. Stress, too little sleep, too much sleep. Migraines can even be triggered by weather events and changes in barometric pressure. And if you're someone suffering from migraines, you already know it sucks. But we want you to also know you are not alone.